What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 6 of Youth Pastors or Pastors 2 podcast. I think we're scheduled to have a good one today. The myth, the legend, Keith is with us. He ironically told me last week that we mention him at least every episode we've had. So we're like, I guess we better have him on. So you can like us on Apple or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and you can watch the video. This week my beard's looking fresh because I just got it cut and a haircut. So if you want to check that out, you can find us on YouTube. Jeremy still looks like a homeless man. Keith's hair is actually combed this week. So if you want to check it out, you can always check out the YouTube. We don't recommend it, but it is there. Jeremy, you got anything you want to add?
I always recommend like, share, subscribe, do whatever. Whatever 5 stars. Can you do people rate you on 5 stars or whatever? Or is that just Yelp? Does anybody use Yelp?
I do. Sometimes. It just depends on what it is. Like restaurants, yeah. If I look up there and it's like, oh, we had cockroaches in our chips, I'm like, probably shouldn't go there.
Can I make
unless it's worth it.
Can I make a confession real quick?
I don't know if what kind of confession? Where's this going?
Can I make a confession real quick? I deliver food on the side for Uber Eats, okay? And I don't think I've mentioned that on the show yet, but I like it. I love it. And I enjoy riders too. But the other day, I had this hankering for Chicken Express, and I didn't want to go there, and I decided to order online. Okay, and you think I would know what I'm doing, but it directed me to Yelp. I bought my food from Chicken Express through Yelp. About an hour later, I thought to myself, where's my Chicken Express? And I called Chicken Express, talked to the owner, and he's like, oh yeah, we're waiting for you to pick it up. Anyways, I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah.
Who gives Yelp reviews? Like if you have to review Yelp itself, where do you review that?
Oh, I would give them because I sit there waiting on my food and it said delivery.
So can you order it and then go pick it up yourself and pay yourself?
Well, I paid for it on the app. And you're supposed to go pick it up yourself. And the owner was very gracious. He even threw in 3 free cherry pies. Ooh, buddy. I never had one before, but we're not endorsing Chicken Express, but man.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a fan of Chicken Express other than their sweet tea.
They got good sweet tea. So. Well, do you want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, since you already have hinted at it?
Yeah, I guess I will. As we say every week, Keith is far west Texas, so far that he is in New Mexico, but he was a Texas boy before. And you can't take Texas out of the kid. So
no.
Keith, you want to tell us a little bit about where you've been, what you've done, your basically a brief summary of your life.
Yeah, you bet. So I don't know. I hope this. Like I said, you've talked about me, I think, every podcast, so I hope it lives up to what you're looking for here. But so I actually grew up in New Mexico. Got to Texas as soon as I could, and then God called me back to the mission field in New Mexico, and so we are here in southeast New Mexico. We actually call ourselves West Texas because we kind of have the same, we're oil and gas industry. We do everything around here.
Pretty much. If you don't see the signs, it feels like you are in West Texas.
You really do. The nice thing is we're hour and a half to the mountains. We're not bad at all. So, but yeah, I grew up here. Spent some time in Dallas area. Spent about 2 years down there. Spent another 5 years in the Austin area. Worked in higher education for a number of years. And then called it into full-time professional Christianity as a pastor.
Full-time.
In Austin. Wow. And so spent some time in Austin and then called back here. We've been here at West Main Baptist Church in Artesia, New Mexico for 12 years.
12 years.
Wow.
Doesn't seem like 12 years.
I know.
No, that's
I
crazy.
didn't know you until after you were there, so it don't mean anything to me.
And see, I got to meet Keith at Highland Lakes Camp, probably 1999, maybe
99, 2000. Yeah.
99, 2000, went around there. So Keith and I, we go way back. And the thing about Keith is Keith doesn't always tell me things. And so I knew that he got married. He's been married to Stacy for almost 16 years. They have 3 kids, but with the first one, I show up to his church in Austin, and it's like obvious that his wife's pregnant. And I'm like, hey, are you having a kid? Oh, yeah, man, I didn't tell you. So it's kind of been a running joke. He actually has 3 now. So
Yeah.
Good times.
I told this story at D Now when I introduced him to the students. I was the time I knew that Keith and I were going to be friends was the time we were standing outside the youth building, and we were all looking at the sky. Like this crazy storm came through through Elgin, and there's like tree limbs everywhere, lightning everywhere, and I don't know. He says he remembers. I think he was just trying to be nice, but I remember
I
looking.
remember after you said that.
We looked straight up in the air, and it looked like a bolt of lightning was coming straight towards us, and we both flinched. Like we were like, "Oh no, we're gonna get struck!" And ever since then, we talk about him every day.
Magical.
We just looked at each other and said, "Nope, it's time to go in."
And that's probably the craziest storm I've seen since living here. So,
oh my goodness, it's like a match made in heaven, huh?
Right.
Ooh.
I've been out to New Mexico once. That was a nightmare story trying to get there.
Oh, it was crazy. No, we everything revolves around Highland Lakes, man. And we've got a lot of Highland Lakes connections, and so I went to school at Wayland and led rec teams for a number of years and Rejoice and music teams. So
played some crazy games.
Yeah, and and then Jacob, we've done a lot of stuff. We've done some stuff with passion conferences with college students, and
I forgot about that,
in Atlanta and Houston, and so lots of fun times.
Yeah, I haven't seen Keith in years, and then we meet up in Atlanta, Georgia. Like he flies right past me, and instead of saying hey, we just meet up in Georgia. So
no, there you go.
A life of ministry, right?
Yeah. Or Houston. We met in Houston once too. So
yeah, we actually roomed together. We had set it up there.
Yeah. The Atlanta trip, we were just kind of, hey, you going to Passion? Yeah, I'm going to Passion. Well, I'll see you there.
We should connect.
So
that's good. Well, if you listened to the podcast last week, are we okay with jumping in? Or you want to jump in the conversation, or we're still in chat?
No, I mean, I was just going to tell them about.
Please, feel free.
So when we were in Atlanta, it was someone's birthday. I don't remember whose it was, but it was the last night, and we went to the steakhouse in North Atlanta. And this has nothing to do with Keith, but I just remember we all sat in this like round table, and we had dinner there, and it was nice. It was expensive, but it was nice. But the group that I took were like, hey, we want to ride the subway. And I think, and we were in North Atlanta, but our hotel was in South Atlanta, right next to the airport. And it took us like 3 hours from where we were at all the way down to South Atlanta. And then we got to the airport, and we're like, oh, we went too far. And the hotel had to come pick us up. And it was so dumb. I don't know why. It was late. And listen, Atlanta's a nice city. I actually really enjoyed it. But the subways at midnight are not something you call home about.
I think the kids might say sus. Are they sus?
Yeah, sus. They're real sus.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's the same trip. I had one of our girls get sick, and she was like, I got to get some medicine. And we didn't have a car, so we just Ubered everywhere. Or we were close enough. We walked to most places. And so on that one, I was like, there is nothing around us. And so we asked the hotel, and like, we don't have anything, but go around the corner. There's a little store. It is a liquor store. And I was like, listen, we're gonna, you can't tell anybody this, right? You can't tell anybody. We're gonna go. I'm gonna let you go in here, but you can, yeah,
Oh my goodness.
as college students. So we're good.
Holy moly. That's so good. That is so good. So lots of history, lots of life together. Um, just
Yeah.
just so glad to have you on the show, Keith. And
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
you know, I think we should make it a goal. We should probably mention Keith in every show from here on out, you know.
Please don't. Nobody
I think
wants
we
to know
can. The hype is so high right now for Keith that hopefully he doesn't drop the ball. There's a lot of pressure on this one.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Well, let's jump right in with 2 feet. Last week, Dwayne talked a little bit about longevity in the ministry, and he said a little word that I just kind of clung to and hung to, and I thought, you know what? Let's talk to Keith about that. According to some statistics out there, you know, pastors work 90% of them work more than 50 hours a week. 80% of them say that they have insufficient time with their spouse. And supposedly, 1,500 pastors leave their ministry each month due to burnout, conflict, or moral failure. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, what Dwayne said was, you have to have balance. Is that true, Keith? What do you think about that? What do you think about that statement?
So I was listening to that podcast, and he said, you know, our wives are pretty smart, even though they married us.
Yeah.
They are pretty smart people, and they have a lot of discernment. I've always said, you know, a pastor's spouse has the worst job because they get the brunt of what we're going through, and we kind of talk through things. Well, then they can't go to anybody. That they just have to sit there with it, and then they're upset if somebody's angry with us, and they're upset if things aren't going the right way. And so pastor spouse is a hard job to have. But yeah, I think that balance is hard. As I first got into ministry, I didn't understand it. I would sit at a conference and people would be like, how do you balance church and family and working? And I was like, it's not hard for me. It's great. But you know, my kids weren't very old, or I didn't have kids. And as I got older and older, and now that my kids are, my kid turns teenage years. She's going to be 13.
You know, that makes you sound really old, Keith. As you got older and older and older.
I know. So she turns 13 this year, so I'm excited. Or this Saturday, I'm excited about that. But it you know, as I grow older and I have kids, I realize my kids are involved in things, and I'm not going to go spend time watching your kid do something when I can be invested in my kid. You know, there's going to be another youth pastor here. There's going to be somebody else that takes over. Hopefully there's not another dad there's not going to be another dad that can do what I can do for her. And so I need to be invested in my kids. So over the last several years, my ministry has changed so that I can accommodate my family more than my ministry. It just looks a little different. I can't be at everything anymore.
Yeah, that's good. Is there any particular way that you set those boundaries?
Sure. Yeah. So we take COVID's been different. COVID's actually been good for families, I think, for on a lot of reasons. But we've set Monday nights because that's been worked best in our schedule. Before we were here, I think it was Tuesday nights. But we just take a night where we go, we're not doing anything else. We may go out to eat as a family, but we're just spending time as family. A lot of times that looks like, well, nowadays sometimes it looks like homework, but it's just us. We're just going to hang out. We're going to play a board game. We're going to watch a TV show. We're going to connect, talk, and we just know that Monday night is our time that we're going to connect as a family. So that's been really good. And then I do my best, unless I have to get on podcasts in the middle of the day or night. But I jump on and try to get home and see my kids go to bed. I want to be there when my kids go to bed. And so I can't always do that. I get the opportunity to do some PA announcing, basketball games and volleyball games and some of those kind of things. And so, you know, every couple nights a week, I'm not able to, but there for a while, it was a huge deal that, when that I was home. And so I just said, no, I can't do both teams. I can only do one this year. And so, I just had to say, no, I'm going to see my kids go to bed early. So,
yeah, that's good.
When you were younger, I guess, how early were you married in your ministry? I never knew that, but were you already in the ministry and then got married, or?
No, I was married, working at higher education. I was actually assistant registrar at a college in Texas, and then we were just youth volunteers at a church in Austin, and just going. And my wife has always told me, "I think you're gonna be a youth pastor," and I was like, "I don't think so." I never really wanted to see the backside of the church, if that makes any sense. I never really wanted to deal with the griping and the voting and the backstabbing, and you could see enough of that from the congregation. I didn't have any desire to be on staff, and so I really didn't think I would be. But she was like, "No, I think you will be one day." So she knew before I did, and then they came. The church came and said, "Hey, we think you need to be on staff," and I said, "No, you're crazy." And so, but yeah, I was married probably 3 years, 2 years, 3 years.
So y'all were learning the ministry side of things together as you into it. Yep. Something me and Amanda and I, proper English, the first 5 years of me in the ministry was just on my own. And the thing I struggle now with is balancing that, because I was so used to, well, it's just me and my dog's laying on the couch next to me, but it's just me and my dog. So I didn't have to worry about somebody else. And now it's, So the thing I think I was going to ask was, what about like, if you have like a long weekend, do you still keep those Monday nights about your family, or do you like, I don't know if you're like an introvert like me, where I can go all weekend during like D-Now, but your boy needs Monday to do nothing. And so I don't know, does that affect your family time? Like if you have an event like D-Now, or I know you do summer camp and mission trip and all that in the summer.
Sure.
So
yeah, it does. My staff here is incredible about, family first, and that's got to come from up above. So lead pastor is fantastic with it. The rest of our staff is fantastic with it. You take what you need for your family. If we're in staff meeting, family calls, you answer the phone. Like they come in, we stop staff meeting because you deal with your family first. And so that's been a huge deal for me, and kind of helped me. But yeah, anytime we, a long weekend or whatever's going on, I gotta have some time with family, and I'm not as much of an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, so I enjoy my time alone. I like it. I have 3 kids, so I really like my time alone. But I really just like time with my wife too, and we don't get that as much. But yeah, you have to schedule those times in of just being by yourself, especially after a long weekend like that. It's not vacation, it's comp time, I guess, because you're working 24/7 for the last however many days.
At least 72 hours, isn't that right?
Yeah, if you're on a weekend on D-Now, I mean, if you're at camp,
who knows? More than that, right?
Yeah,
that's above my math grade level.
Yeah,
that's why we're in the ministry, not the numbers.
Don't get me started on that. Oh, sheesh.
Hey, I'll touch on this. This is my favorite thing. This is what I've had appreciation for from my wife come back to me, and if I can pass this along, then great. So my wife is a volunteer. She is my wife, but she is a volunteer in my ministry. So I had somebody come in several years ago, and I just said, here's my budget, here's my timing, here's my space, here's our church. Like, from an outsider point of view, where do we need to cut back? Where do we need to push the gas? Like, just kind of evaluate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that was crucial for our church, for our ministry, for me, for my family, to have somebody with outside eyes looking in and going, hey, I passed by this church 5 or 6 times a year. I've never seen it. I've never noticed it. Wow, we're right on Main Street. That says something. And so we've kind of changed some things that we've done there. Um, but for our family, my wife was coming to Wednesday nights and Sunday nights and Sunday mornings, and she was doing everything I was doing. And I was like, he was like, you're killing your wife. And I was like, man, I didn't think about it. But that was huge for me to kind of step back and go, where do you need to plug in? And she went, I love ladies ministry. And so she plugged into the community Bible study in town, and that was her niche. Man, she loved that. She's teaching now. She's gone back to full-time teaching. But so she's not able to do that. So she works with us on Sunday nights because she can. Wednesday nights, she has her own circle group that she meets with for the church, within the church here. But I said, where are you going to give up? You need to give up something in our ministry. And so she's like, oh, well, maybe Wednesday nights would work, and I can do Sunday nights. Great. So she plugs in on Sunday nights. We do our circle groups. We don't do Sunday mornings anymore. We do our circle groups on Sunday nights. And so that's been huge. And so our administrator secretaries sometimes will laugh at me and like, oh, are you mailing a letter to your wife? Yes. You know what? It's in the stack. I'm sending postcards to my volunteers. My wife gets one. If I'm sending calendars out to my students and my volunteers, my wife is getting one. So one, it helps me with communication so that I know that she knows it's gone out. Two, it kind of helps me know when our students are getting it because it came to my house. But three, I know that I don't ever assume that she's going to be there. She's just like one of those volunteers where, hey, I'm not going to make it tonight. Great. No worries. We'll figure it out. And so that's been huge for me, just to treat her as a volunteer on this side of things.
Wow. I never even thought about that. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in my notebook. And so when it comes to like things that you do, like your work schedule, and then you said it earlier about going to see students do stuff. Like last night I went to this one act play thing for us. So in our church, our youth group, there's like 6 different schools that we are between. My battery on my laptop's about to die. We have they're all over the area. So when one school gets to do they do this one act thing, and I was able to see a bunch of students at once. So it's like perfect. But also yesterday was my dad's birthday. And so I was put into this like difficult position because my family was doing something for my dad's birthday. But I still needed to, that was like a perfect opportunity to see a bunch of students at one place do one like this act thing. And that's what the next question is: how do you set those boundaries? Like when you need to be somewhere, your family do need to come first.
Yeah. So I think some of that has to do with just being around. Like if you can't stay the entire time, you just go for a little bit. And you made face, you know what I'm saying? And you make a contact with a parent or two, and you go, hey, I can't stay long, but I just wanted to be here for a bit. And you just make it known. Hey, I'm here. Man, I'm really excited about this. I've got a jet, but, and then just shooting a text later saying, hey, really enjoyed you. What happened in that. And man, here has been really cool because the radio station has teamed up with the sports teams and the plays and the musicals, and there's times that I stay home with my family and I can watch it online, and then I'll zoom in and take a snapshot, and then I'll send it to them. Dude, you're a TV star, so that's been really cool. We've been really blessed to do that. And so yeah, I think if you can make them both work, then fantastic. Do that and just make known, hey, or you just kind of say there was a long period of time where I never made a choir concert because it was always on this one day. And I don't know if it was my wife's birthday or if it was something was always going on. I can't remember at this time, but I just had to say, I'm not going to be there. And it's a huge performance you've been working on. And I know, but yeah, it speaks volume to those kids too, that I'd say, no, my wife's more important than you are. It kind of speaks to who you love more and in the order of who we need to love and take care of. So it teaches a lesson in there too.
Yeah. That's rich.
Yeah, it's hard to. Yesterday was hard because one, it's my dad's birthday, and that's just kind of a reminder that he passed away type thing. But
Sure.
man, it's that one thing where a bunch of students. It's actually the first thing that I've been able to go to since COVID. So, man, that was a difficult decision. But I can see I have a hard time telling students no,
Sure.
just because their backgrounds, being there would be the world to them, and so. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta uh, say no, and I have a hard time saying no. So
Yeah. No, I get it. It's difficult. It really is, and especially a time like that where you're like, I have like a cluster. I can get, make a touch with several students here, and yet, a meaningful time at home. What do I do, and how do I balance this? It's difficult.
yeah,
Just being creative and trying to find those ways where, hey, I can't be there, but if you'll take a picture, I want to see what's happening. Or can your mom live stream it? Or, I really want to be a part, and just letting them know, hey, I was there, but I wasn't there
yeah,
in different ways. But,
That's good stuff. And really, to think about just telling that those parents as you're at the game, hey, I dropped in for a little bit, but I can't make it, the whole time. Because I think for me, it's like I want to see the whole game and I want to know who
yeah.
wins. But even though you got to prioritize, don't you? You got to prioritize that.
Yeah, so I get to do some PA announcing. I say I get to because I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and so I do the PA announcing, and parents are just hanging around waiting for kids to come out, and
Yeah.
I really want to just hang out and say, "Hey, I was here," but they know I was there. I've been screaming their name in the PA system the entire time, and so they know I was there. Parents knew I was there, and so I'll just run over and say, "Hey, how you doing? I got to run and get back to see my kiddos." So
yeah, that's good. I saw a picture of you on the Facebook today with your the microphone in front of you.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I'm about to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, so we've talked about spouse, we've talked about kids, we've talked about the kids in the ministry. How do you balance all of that and still keep your focus and time and eyes on Christ?
Well, if we're honest, we're not all rock stars like Jacob and Jeremy. So
Goodness gracious.
Some of us get the opportunity to be full time on staff,
Yeah.
and we're not killing it on it with a day job. And then in the middle of the night, working on youth ministry stuff, and then coming back after, working for hours and hours on the end, and then going and investing in students' lives. So for that, I'm pretty flexible during the week to connect with other pastors, to connect and grow and talk with people. And so that's been huge for me. Texting with you guys back and forth. Here's an idea. Here's a thought. Here's something I'm wrestling with in scripture, whatever. Having some friends that you can do that with. But also just having some time in my office after I drop off kids from school, before I really jump into my day-to-day, just being able to sit down and read some scripture, worship, and do some of that kind of stuff. And so that's been huge for me. I've never been a morning person. I don't know if you can be as a youth pastor, but
No.
but the older my kids get, the more I have to be up and get them going and get them to class and stuff. So I find some time once I get into the office. It's really a good time for me to kind of sit down and buckle down. And then I've got an accountability partner that I meet with. We try to meet once a week. COVID's been bananas, right? But we try to meet at least once a week where we can just talk about families, and our families are good friends. But he's another pastor here in town where we can he understands my woes and I understand what's going on in his life. And we can just kind of talk ministry, but we can also talk families, and we can just kind of get some stuff off our chest, pray for each other, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good. Jacob?
That was, I think I know y'all hold this against me that I don't text during the day.
Oh my gosh.
And I generally feel bad because I'll come back and there'd be like 15 text messages in this group. I'm like, guys, for my secular job, I don't carry my phone with me for certain reasons.
Totally get it. Yeah, we give you a hard time. We totally get it, man. You really are. I mean, both you guys are rock stars trying to figure out life and family and a real job, I guess, and then ministry not on the side because it's always full time. And so that's incredible. It's almost like a single mom trying to do life, with so much going on, work and kids and everything else. So you guys are really where it's at. So.
Yeah. I would call us rock stars because we would feel like I could do better, but
And then you're like, oh, we don't have enough to do. Let's put a podcast together.
I guess it's a fair statement to say.
Oh man, we're not busy enough. Let's do a podcast. Oh man. Well, and I think that's just as you mentioned, that accountability partner, and then our relationship, and then our little text group. Of the 15 texts, only 2 of those are really important texts anyway, right? And but that that it is encouragement for one another. For it's encouragement for Jacob, and he's out in the field, and it's encouragement for you. Whether you're dropping a kid off or picking a kid up, or sitting in your office doing nothing, right? I mean, you're always doing something. I didn't mean nothing, but I think that's where all of our hearts are, and that's encourage, and lift. Whoever's listening up. To what? I don't read my Bible daily, and I just throw it out there, and maybe you don't too, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about that, because it's. I always like to say the Christian walk, the Christian journey, the ministry. Life's short, but man, it sure seems a long journey.
Yeah.
Because it's sometimes it can be tough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm administratively driven, I guess, and so I can get off on this little task of putting numbers together and finding buses and some of this stuff that really I don't have to know right now. And if I'm not careful, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do Sunday night or Wednesday night or Sunday night on Wednesday or Sunday afternoon. I mean, that's I know we've all been there. But I hate it. I hate doing that. I have to focus. If it doesn't get on my calendar, it doesn't happen. And so there's times I just have to go, you know what? I'm scheduling this on my calendar where nothing else is coming in. So I do the same thing for my wife. It's date night. Nothing's coming in. Nothing's going to go out. Like we're doing date night, doesn't matter what's happening on that day. And so if I don't get it on my calendar, man, it's likely not going to happen. So sometimes I'll have to just schedule myself out that far and go, hey, I'm reading from this time to this time. And I don't have too many people walk into my office. My office is kind of tucked away in the youth room. And so, nobody's going to just come in. I can usually hear them coming up the stairs or whatever. But
I don't know if a map could actually help find your office or not.
No.
I mean, it's like.
You have to know where you're going.
Where is your office again?
I don't think I've ever been to your office.
You have. You just didn't know it. You in front of it. Yeah.
If you went upstairs, you were really close, right?
Yep. Got the soundboard and everything in my office.
Oh, that's your office?
That's my office. Yeah.
Man, I thought they threw me in a closet.
Yeah, no, it literally is a closet. I'll take it. So.
Oh man. Well, listen, if you were to sum up this conversation about balance, and just give a final thought, final word, what would that be?
Do it. Have balance. I don't know. I mean, look, we can get overscheduled with other things. And it's hugely important for us to schedule our family first, and then to schedule other things. I think I said it before, but you're the only dad, you're the only husband, you're the only son that you're gonna be, and so only you can be that one. And so your job's going to go by the wayside eventually. Somebody else will be in there. And you just have to find a different way to connect with students or with parents in a different way. But put your family first, put your wife first, husband, if any ladies are listening. Put your spouse first, I guess. And then your kiddos, and then your ministry. And so,
yeah.
Well, we always wrap this up with 2 questions. The first question would be, what is the craziest ministry story you have? And then the second question is, what's the last song you looked up on purpose or listened to on purpose, like on Spotify or Apple Music?
Yeah. Crazy story. So everybody has a ton, right? I think the one that kind of pops out that keeps coming up is we were going to camp just a few years ago, and I was driving the 15 passenger van. I have a trailer behind me, and we have another 15 passenger van behind us, and my intern is up in the front row with me, and we're driving, and kids are being silly, whatever. And one of the kids, he doesn't show up a whole lot. He's hit or miss, but he was going to camp this year. Sweet. And so he had the prime seat. He was sitting right in the middle of the front row. So he got the air conditioning from the top, and he got the air conditioning from extra from us. And so he's being goofy. All the kids like him, and he's 8th or 9th grade at that point. And he gets a seatbelt wrapped around his neck. And was like, this is funny, ha ha ha, somehow. And so then the intern looks over and she goes, oh, he's really stuck. You should probably pull over. And I was like, that kid's an idiot. No. And so I just keep driving, and I look back, and he's like, you see the seriousness, in his face. I'm like, she goes, we need to pull over. And I was like, all right. So he's got this thing wrapped around his neck, man, seatbelt. And gosh, I just got out and got scissors. Luckily, we had some scissors in the first aid kit we carry with us.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, my gosh. And so still today, we had that. Somebody had to cut that off of him because there was that thing was locked. And I don't know if he did a flip. How do you get that locked onto your throat? We're driving 75 miles an hour down the road, going, what in the world? So we pull over and we cut it off. And so now that kid can never show up here at youth again, because every kid here, and we tell them, stop saying that stuff. They're always like, you're the kid that got the seatbelt. We don't have a seatbelt because of you. Stop. He's never coming. And his family comes to church here on Sundays. He just doesn't plug into youth group as much. But man, it
had to make a new rule, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. There's always a rule for something. Yeah, they're still in the van. There's no seatbelt right there. So
that's funny that
air conditioning, but you're not very safe.
That reminds me of so you met Morgan at D Now.
Yeah.
When we were in youth group, we were going to camp in Colorado, student life camp.
That's where we were going.
Yeah, so we were headed up to Colorado, and I don't sleep very well in vehicles, and I finally fell asleep. We had left Bastrop and drove all the way to New Mexico, and then New Mexico to Colorado. And I finally fall asleep, and right before we get into the mountains of Colorado, and this kid, he wakes me up, and it's like July. He goes, dude, there's snow on the mountain tops. And I looked at him, I said, we've been in the car for 18 hours the last 2 days, and you wake me up to tell me this? So he made me mad. So I took all the seatbelts in the 15 passenger van and tied them up, and all the seatbelts in the whole van, and just tied them up. I'm so glad it didn't lock up like it did for that kid. There was no getting him out. And if we had to cut him out, it would have been all of the seatbelts.
You might have been walking home from Colorado.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
funny.
my goodness.
What was your song that you intentionally listened to?
Yeah, so Phil Wickham, man, I love Phil Wickham, and I know you guys are both fans, especially Jacob, of of Shane and Shane. And so Phil Wickham and Shane Christmas concert. I'm not a big Christmas song fan, but man, their Christmas concert is the best I've ever seen. It was phenomenal. So anyway, I like Phil Wickham. That was a side note. Phil Wickham's House of the Lord worship song. It's good. It's upbeat, strong. Talk about, and we praise the God who was, who is, and who's coming again, and that he still has miracles in him, still doing stuff, still moving the rock. It's good.
Yeah.
I never listened to Phil Wickham until his new radio song came out. I was like, this is really good. Who is this? And then Amanda was like, it's Phil Wickham. I was like, oh, I'm checking this guy out. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
Jeremy, what was your song?
My song was that new Micah Tyler song that's on the radio, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I know the title of it. But it talks about, like, the lyrics is like, talks about how, you know, you're beat down, broken, and you know, it's just all about grace. It's what it's about. And I don't know if you're looking it up or not, Jacob, but it's one that I'll tell you. Anyways, it's just all about grace, and I like his voice anyway. He's got such a cool story about how he kind of got to where he's got on the mainstream radio, but you know, very encouraging. You know, encouraging to lift you up from out of that rut that you might be in. So
that's good.
I'll tell you the song that I told Keith this earlier before we started recording. At D Now, the band sang the song "Something Has to Break," and so yesterday, and I've discovered this, like, Southern gospel radio station that they're broadcasting in Austin now, and they sang this song, and I was like, yeah, this is okay. Because once you hear Kelsey sing it the first time, it's like, it's hard to compare to that. But I looked it up, and it's "Something Has to Break" by Red Rock Worship, I believe. Is it? Yeah, Red Rock's Worship. And I actually played it yesterday, pretty much like 10 times yesterday, just because yesterday was a difficult day, and plus you add in my busy schedule. It's like, man, something does have to break, and it was just a song that really hit home. And then, of course, once I listened to Apple Music, I had to pull up the video from D Now. It's Kelsey singing. This is good stuff.
She's good, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the song that really needed to be heard from just me personally. So it was really good. So yeah.
Well, that's good.
I don't have any crazy stories. I think we talked a little bit about some of the ones we had with Keith and almost dying. I will say this: so Keith brought a group of students to Elgin for a mission trip in the summer, and it was the same night as we almost got struck by lightning. It was just funny because the electricity was flickering in and out. But one of his students, I was sitting there trying to watch. It was the finals for the basketball. I think the Spurs were in it. And I'm not a huge Spurs fan, but it's a Texas team together. I was trying to watch it on this, like, bunny ears that we had set up in this. I don't know if it was the youth room or whatever it was at the time, but the electricity kept flickering. But one of his students, so they were cleaning the church, getting ready to leave, I guess, like the next day or so. But the electricity kept going out. But every time the electricity would go out, that student would just keep vacuuming. And the lights were out, there's no power, but that student just kept vacuuming. And I was like, do we not know what happens when the power goes out? But she just kept vacuuming with lights off. And I just sat there. And she vacuumed the same area for like 20 minutes and power was out. She was just like, and I don't think she realized it because she had headphones in, but she was just, I wish I could remember the student, but I don't know who it was. But it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah.
So,
well, and I do think that Keith still owes you a blind there in the youth room from that
it is
baseball or football they got.
it's still broken, and I completely forgot about it until he came and spoke at D Now. He's like, "You remember that time I broke the blind and we looked over and it's still broken."
Still there.
It's still there.
And I didn't even fix it while I was there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What a
But
terrible.
we've moved rooms, so I guess it's not my problem anymore. So
Oh, there's probably like a limit on that, right? Like
yeah, it's been what?
it's been 7 years. You probably don't owe it now. It's
Yeah.
Jubilee, the year Jubilee on the broken blinds from the youth ministry.
And any student that was there probably already graduated. So
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
you're in the clear.
I remember that was Michaela's first like youth thing, and she graduated last year. I'm like, hey, we're getting old.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's good. Well,
Get some gray in the old beard.
I do have gray.
I have two. I have like one here and one here. Anyway,
I got it coming in on the sides, and I make my barber cut it out. 30 years old. I don't need this.
there you go. There you go. Well, Keith, thank you so much for joining us this wonderful Wednesday, Record Wednesday, like we sit down and do, and we're just honored to have you. And yeah, we could do it again sometime. I'm sure.
Sweet. I'm
Yeah, we
always
could.
talking shop. So.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we should just have an episode where we just talk and not have like a specific agenda. I think
Yeah.
I think we could go for an hour. I don't know how long we've gone now, but we could probably go an hour.
Was there
Just
an agenda
talking.
today? Do we not just
I call it an outline. I call it an outline.
outline? Yeah.
We
Oh,
we,
yeah,
we,
yeah.
we had them like that. We highlighted it. We stayed on track. We did good.
We
Nice.
did.
Real good. As the producer, co-host, Jacob, you did a great job, and Keith, you
Hey.
did too.
Well, thank
Yeah, you didn't drop the ball. I mean, you had high expectations, and I don't think you dropped the ball.
No,
It was an honor. It really
No.
is, guys. I mean,
No, you.
it's an honor to be a part, so I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jacob, you got that last part right there.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
If you stayed with us and you listened to our stories and listened to Keith, and maybe you'll mention Keith throughout your day now, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and if you really want to see our ugly faces, we're on YouTube. So I don't know how YouTube works. I one time tried to start my own gaming channel. It's a lot harder than you think. So
Was that when you were playing like the Farm City though?
okay, well, you don't have to call me out on that.
I was like, I tried to watch it one time. I was like,
Listen, it only takes a special breed to sit through 8 hours of Farm Simulator.
Yeah.
is this left
Playing
and right?
or
Is that all? Is that?
Okay, it was peaceful.
I don't know if that's gonna go viral or not, Jacob.
Well, this might be since I got married and my wife still makes fun of me for doing it.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, why don't we do this again next week?
All right, yeah.